The topic we're going to dive into today is hiring quality team members from outside of dentistry. Hiring quality team members from outside of dentistry. And working very closely with Gary. Gary and I share a lot of mutual clients. A lot of Gary's clients have us do marketing and vice versa. One of the things I'm noticing is, and Gary, you can correct me if I'm wrong when you're sharing your comments, hiring has become a challenge. Hiring people the way you used to hire is not working anymore. So sometimes you have to mix things up. Sometimes you have to change the way you do things. And you specifically, Gary, and you've done this with your own experience at LifeSmiles, plus with a lot of your clients, you have encouraged your clients to hire from outside of dentistry. And it has provided amazing results for you. So I think getting into this topic of like, how do we do it? How do we do it right? I think is a really good use of our time today. So let's jump right in.
Well, Naren, I think there's a silver lining in the cloud. The cloud, and I think we have to recognize it, we'd be foolish not to recognize it, is that hiring in dentistry is not like it's ever been in the past.
Right.
There is much more supply, meaning jobs that are available in dentistry, than people that want those jobs. The supply and demand is totally tilted in the favor of the applicant. And that's a relatively new phenomenon. Those of us that have been in this profession for a long time will remember a time. I started in 1980. My goodness, 44 years ago. I remember a time where you could put an ad out, and you could have 10 quality resumes, within a matter of hours. And then it's a matter of, boy, I've got to narrow this down because they all look good. And today there are postings that go unanswered, not a single resume. It's just a different hiring client. And to be fair, this isn't just dental specific.
Agreed.
This is in any, quite literally any profession, any industry. Teresa and I enjoy supporting local restaurants. And as a result of that, we have a lot of friends who are restaurant owners, and we enjoy supporting them. Restaurant business is not an easy business.
Right.
And Naren, not a single one of our friends is completely staffed. Right. There are openings in the restaurants.
Yeah, I remember going to Florida not too long ago, and literally they said, you have to wait 20 minutes. And there's all these empty seats. Why? Because we don't have enough staff.
Right.
So they won't even seat you for 20 minutes because they don't have enough people.
So I wanted to make that comment because I hope that, the dental listeners here don't get an inferiority complex like it's just us. Is it just us? Is it just dentistry? No, not at all. But the silver lining though is that in many ways, the way we've always searched for team members is a bit of a hit or miss. And maybe now if we start looking at it through a more creative way, maybe a much more intentional way of hiring, it's going to end up with finding the right fit. What we want is when someone, that we've interviewed is thinking, I have just found my job home. This is where I want to spend the rest of my life, my work life, contributing at work. And then we all want that on our side. We want to say, I found my ideal team member that fits our team. We have 7 goals for a thriving practice. And one of those goals, goal number 4, this is for all of our clients in my coaching work. We have individual goals that we define, based on their own individual needs and direction and what they're doing. But we have 7. And goal number 4 is a high performance team that I truly love and enjoy working with. Goal number 4. And when I go through the 7 goals with my clients, I ask the question, which one do you think is most important? And by the way, I say there's no wrong answers because you could argue, I could be like the debate coach, on the debate team in college, and I could argue where each one of these is most important. But I then say, I'll go ahead and go first. You think about it, but I'll go first. I happen to think that goal number 4 is most important. The high performance team you truly love and enjoy working with. Because I believe if we don't have number 4, you're not going to get the other 6. You're not going to get them. And so I think that is critical. So the idea of intentional hiring, and I would say many practices over the last years have gotten away from intentional hiring and instead it hired someone with a pulse. They were so desperate, they hired out of desperation. Well, I'm not thrilled about so-and-so, but I need someone. And that usually ends up in disappointment, and usually ends up not being the right fit, usually ends up taking the practice down the wrong direction. So I think the silver lining is it gives us a chance to be way more intentional about what. Now, there's a certain amount of credentialing with some positions. If we're hiring a hygienist, that person has to be licensed. They can't do on-the-job hygiene training, right? But even there, Naren, I'll share a trend that is there's a severe shortage right now of hygienists that is going to start to change coming up later this spring. There is a movement. It's a fairly significant movement of nurses. These are mid and even early late career nurses that have made a conscious decision to change careers. And they're leaving nursing.
Yeah.
They're leaving nursing because primarily a number of reasons, but primarily some nursing positions require 24-hour shifts. You work crazy hours. A second reason is a lot of nursing has gotten away from care and gotten into more paper pushing.
Bureaucratic.
And third, they end up working for these huge corporations that own all the hospitals and own all the big managed care medical facilities.
It's all less medicine.
It's less medicine and it's more business.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mid and late career nurses that have said, you know what, I'm going to put my career on hold for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get my education. I'm going to get my vocational degree in hygiene. And I'm going to spend the rest of my career being a hygienist. And that's a big group. In fact, the ADA got wind of this, and the ADA tried to see if there was a way to accelerate the training, because these were all, healthcare background people. So is there a way we could do less than a 2-year training? So there's a need for them right now that we could kind of move them through the training pipeline much quicker so we can get them in the workforce. And the answer was no, because of the practical part of their training. The practical part of their training is with patients. And they didn't want to cut that out because that would make them a less qualified new hygienist. Exactly. So they said, no, unfortunately, you're going to have to go. They're going to have to go through the whole 2 years. But now the first group of those is going to be graduating this May, coming up literally like in, what is that, about 3 months from when this episode comes out. So even though that, you can't just hire someone that thinks they might want to be a hygienist without any credentialing. They have to have a degree and they have to be licensed. But even there, it's starting to change. I'll tell you what, if you have coming in May, if you have any new hygienists that are playing that used to be nurses, I would put them at the top of the list, because I personally think these people made conscious decisions because they wanted to be part of personalized healthcare. They want to be a deliverer of healthcare. They love patients. They want to interact with patients. I would put them, now that's not saying they'll all be equal, it'll vary, but I would put them at the top of the list because they have made an intentional decision to be in your career. And I think you might find, and these hygienists might be in their mid 40s, late 40s, early 50s, and they want to spend the rest of their career finding an awesome office like yours to really focus on direct patient care. But now let's pivot to the other positions. Any administrative position we can hire from outside of dentistry. Any of the administrative, even office manager.
Yes.
We could hire our new patient coordinator. If that's a role you have in your practice, that person can come from outside of dentistry. As in fact, actually very few new patient coordinators exist in dentistry. Most offices haven't used that role. So it's likely that someone we're going to hire from outside of dentistry. And even assistants. Now, again, it depends on your state. You have to look at your qualifications. In most cases, they don't have to be a licensed RDA, registered dental assistant. They can be vocational. And in fact, many vocational assisting schools, the 11-week vocational assisting school is enough for them to be able to join your practice as an assistant. And then there's many examples in many states, they can be on the job trained. And then they can get their credentialing as they go, like they could become X-ray certified, so that now they're credentialed to be able to provide X-rays.